So here, in order to convert plain text to the ciphertext, it uses encryption algorithm. And this encryption algorithm uses a key. And at receiver side, ciphertext will be converted to the plain text. It uses the decryption algorithm. And this decryption algorithm uses the key. Isn't it? So whatever the key is used at sender side is same as the receiver side. The same key is used at receiver side. Then this is called as a symmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption. If key used at sender side is K1 and the key used at receiver side is K2, then these two are different. Key at sender side is different from the key at receiver side. That is a key and decryption algorithm is different. Then that is called as the asymmetric key encryption, asymmetric key cryptography. Okay, so this is the terminology we are going to use this entire thing. So here, how the message will be transmitted. It uses encryption algorithm and it uses the insecure channel and decryption algorithm will be there and finally receiver will be there. A key will be transmitted using the secure channel and so providing the security means for individual systems, we need to provide the security to the data over the network. So whether it is a secured network or insecure channel, we need to provide the security to the information which is transmitted. So the main concepts of computer security is confidentiality, integrity, and the availability. So confidentiality means just unauthorized, we need to prevent the data. So by the unauthorized user should not access the data. And integrity means, so once the valid, so authorized users are communicating, then there should be the acknowledgement to the given transmitted data. So that will be provided. So that is nothing but the integrity. So once the users are authorized users, so we need to provide all the system resources. Along with the security, we need to provide the system resources for a proper communication between the sender and the receiver. So that is the availability. So these three, mainly these three will come under computer security concepts. Apart from this, authorization will be there. Okay. So this, the relationship between this confidentiality, integrity and availability, these three must be existed in the network or in between the communication of sender and the receiver. Isn't it? And this OSI architecture specifies about the security attacks, what are the security mechanisms and what are the security services. So this will be done at different layers of the OSI architecture. So security attack, when the data is transmitted over the network, the attacker, so between the sender and receiver, attacker will be there, or the cryptanalyst, we can call the attacker as cryptanalyst. So if the data is transmitted in a proper manner between the sender and receiver, then the original data will be retrieved by the receiver. So that is a cryptography, and whatever the ciphertext is transmitted over the network, so based on, by taking that ciphertext, if cryptanalyst is trying to obtain the plain text, then that is a cryptanalysis process. That is cryptanalysis process. So in this cryptanalysis only, the cryptanalyst will try to perform some attacks like passive attack and the active attack. So how the attacks will be done by the cryptanalyst? is simply attacker can monitor the data, frequency of the data transmitted over the network, or sometimes it is going to observe. The cryptanalyst will observe the message transmitted over the network. Along with the observation will be done, or simply captures the information. Cryptanalyst will capture the information and cryptanalyst will read the content. But cryptanalyst will not perform any alteration over the data, like insertion or updating the data or deleting the messages sent by the sender. Nothing will be done in the passive attacks. Simply observation will be there. So by using that observation, cryptanalyst will find is able to get the plain text based on the set of messages transmitted between the sender and receiver. Or sometimes cryptanalyst will get an idea. So what will be the location of the sender and what will be the location of the receiver. So such a type of information can be gained by observing the messages transmitted over the network. And the second type of attack is the active attack. In this, apart from observation, cryptanalyst will try to modify the content. Cryptanalyst will modify the content, and cryptanalyst will act as a sender. Means the ID of the sender will be given to the receiver by the cryptanalyst. So cryptanalyst will act as a sender. So such thing will be happen. So sometimes cryptanalyst will alter the message. Cryptanalyst will modify the content. Cryptanalyst can insert some data or can update the existing data. Or so when the connection is established between the sender and receiver, so later, first cryptanalyst will capture the data, and later again, so when the connection is re-established, cryptanalyst will replay the messages. What are the previous messages are there? The previous connection messages are there. Cryptanalyst will replay those messages. And sometimes modification and denial of service is also one of the attacks. Like, so between the sender and receiver, so when the sender is sending the message to the receiver, so cryptanalyst will interrupt the receiver, or cryptanalyst will deny that particular message. Or if the receiver is a service provider, like a server, then cryptanalyst will not allow the receiver to respond to the sender. Okay, so such a type of attacks can be done by the cryptanalyst. So just this is the pictorial representation of the attacks, passive attacks, how the opponent or the attacker is trying to modify the contents. Sometimes cryptanalyst will change the ID. So in order to prevent these attacks, so security services can be provided. So these security services, will prevent the attacks. So so services in the sense it simply provides some confidentiality. And before going to establish the connection, first it will check the authentication of the users. So whether they are the authenticated users or not. So once they are authenticated users, it will check the authorization, like the access control of the users. Like what the eligibility, the sender and the receiver. So what type of data can be transmitted and to which limit. So what are the different types of permissions for the users over that particular data. So that will be provided, service will be provided. And so it provides the confidentiality, that is there any unauthorized person is accessing the data or not. So like this, it provides some security services. So these are only security services. So sometimes there will be no attacker or the crypton list data. So sender and receiver, one among them will act as a will claim that the message was not sent by the sender itself. Though the message sent by the sender can claim that message was not sent by me. So such a type of things will be happened. So, but here it provides a service. So even though the sender or the receiver is claiming that they are not sending the message, but the other side person will have the proof to specify that the message is from the corresponding node.
Can you explain once again the non-repudiation?
Non-repudiation means there won't be any crypton list. The thing is, sender and receiver will be there. So sender will send some message and the sender will claim that I did not send any message to you. And at the same time, sometimes receiver will send a message. Later, receiver can claim that I did not send any message to you, like sender. But the sender and the receiver, once the message is sent to the receiver, sender will have the proof that I sent the message and you have received that message. And the receiver can claim that I have sent the message and you have received that message, like a WhatsApp. The best example for non-repudiation is WhatsApp. So when you send a message to your friend, if there is double click, even though your friend is saying, I did not receive any message, you can show the proof. At the same time, if your friend is saying, I did not read the message, again, you can show the proof that the blue tick. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there won't be any opponent or attacker. So like a sender and receiver can claim. And the availability is providing the resources, system resources. Once the connection is established, so it has to provide the services, like one among them. So sender may be, sometimes sender may be a client and the receiver may be server. Then server has to provide the services to all the client requests. So server will have the number of clients. A number of clients will be there. So every client will give some request. So server should be in a position that it has to provide the services. Means, so if the capacity is enough, so if it has enough capacity, the server capacity is more, then only it can provide a number of services to a number of client requests. So that thing should be provided over when the connection is established between the sender and the receiver. So that is also one of the service. So here, if we go in detail about the authentication with verification process, whether both the persons, sender and receiver, are the valid users or not, in order to transmit the data over the network. So this can be done at two levels, like peer entity authentication will be there and data origin authentication will be there. So generally peer entity will be done at connection oriented systems, and sender will be considered as one peer entity, receiver will be considered as one peer entity. And this will be authentication will be done at connection establishment as well as data transfer phase. So sometimes the message, transmission, communication will be happened with a single message, or will be a ongoing interaction will be there. Sender will send some message, receiver will send some acknowledgement, again the receiver will send some message like that. So throughout the communication, there will be authentication process will be there. The service will be provided, because the cryptanalyst can have some attacks. Okay, in this, so whenever there is a connection, so cryptanalyst can perform these type of attacks, masquerade attacks, and the replay of previous connections. So in order to prevent this, it will provide the, it will check the authentication of sender and receiver at every stage, not only at the establishment, along with the with every message. So it is going to check. And second type is data origin authentication. So it will consider the sender as a source of the data unit. And whenever the data is transmitted, so first it will check the authentication of the sender. So generally it will be happen at the connectionless services. So we will receive emails from the many senders. So before going to send a mail to the receiver, it will check the authentication of the sender. So again, so every service, security service will be, prevent some of the attacks. It doesn't guarantee that every service will prevent all the attacks and all the, it detects all the attacks. Instead, so one of the service will provide, will prevent some attacks. So here, if you consider this authentication, peer entity authentication, so it can prevent masquerade and replay of messages. And if you consider data origin authentication, so it will take modification of messages. So it will take care of the modification of message attacks. So again, an active attack. So access control is one. And data confidentiality in order to provide the security so from the unauthorized users. And this is also used, this service is also for preventing some attack, like passive attack, traffic analysis, isn't it? So integrity will be there, so it will be at two levels. Connection-oriented services and the connectionless services. Again, so this service will be provided for modification and the denial of service attacks in order to prevent them. And whereas the connectionless will prevent only the modification. So denial of service will not be addressed by the connectionless. Because so denial of service is, so whenever there is a reliability between the sender and receiver, then only it can provide the denial of service attack. I mean, it can provide the service for the denial of service attack. Yes. So non-repudiation, so just now we discussed, so there will be sender and receiver. So if the claim is if there is a proof at sender side, then source non-repudiation. If the proof is there at the receiver side, so accordingly, there are two types: source non-repudiation as well as the destination non-repudiation. And availability will address, so availability. So once the connection is established, it has to provide all the services to the authorized users, and it will address denial of service attacks. So this relationship, I mean, so you need to know, so which type of service will provide, will prevent which type of attack. So there is a relationship. And these are the services of .800 architecture. So just now whatever we discussed, all services are there except the availability. So according to X.800, it specifies that availability is a service which can be provided by providing all other services. It is not a specific service. Internally, it will be provided with all these things. So this is just a description. Again, so in order to provide these services, security services, it uses some mechanism. So that mechanism is a security mechanism, means internally it will apply some algorithms. That mechanism can be provided by using some encryption algorithms, or it can be provided by using some digital signature, by adding the digital signature to the data which is transmitted over the network. Suppose the sender is sending some document, so sender can add some digital signature to the document, so that the receiver can easily identify that it is sent by the sender itself, it is not by the opponent. So that type of mechanisms will be provided. So these mechanisms are simply cryptographic techniques, means encryption techniques, digital signature. Sometimes it can add some bits to the existing data, the plain text or the message, so that whenever the attacker is trying to attack or trying to capture the information, attacker will not able to get the plain text. So these are the different types of security mechanisms. Encipherment, like encryption algorithm, digital signature, access control will be there, integrity will be there. Sometimes authentication exchange will be happen between the sender and receiver, so that from data ongoing interaction will be done easily. So traffic padding is nothing but, again, it is going to insert some bits to the existing message. So in order to confuse the attacker itself. Routing control. So sender and receiver will be at different locations. So internal, there will be a number of internal nodes. I'm sorry, some network issue. See. So one of the security mechanisms is notarization. So what the sender and receiver will do is, so while transmitting the data, it will depend on the third party. Third party is not the attacker. Third party will be some trusted third party which will be used to communicate this, to transmit the data between the sender and receiver. So that data will not disclose to the attacker. So that type of mechanism will also be used. So if whatever the security mechanism is there, if the security mechanism is specific to some particular application protocol layer, then so these mechanisms are divided into two types, like specific security mechanisms and the pervasive security mechanisms. These specific security mechanisms are specific to particular application protocol layer. Application protocol layers will be there. So if it is specific to some particular protocol layer, then so we need to use these mechanisms. The architecture will use these type of mechanisms. If it is not specific to any layer, then it uses the pervasive security mechanisms. So trusted functionality, security, it simply adds some labels. So event detection, security audit trials, it will do some audit trials. So, and then it performs the security recovery. So once the data is disclosed, it performs the recovery. So this is the relationship between the security services and the security mechanisms. Yes, we know what is a cryptography and what is cryptanalysis. So here, symmetric encryption means a single key will be used. Not the single key. A key which is used at the sender side will be used at the receiver side as well. Encryption and decryption algorithms uses the same key, but it doesn't mean that it uses only single key. At encryption side, it can use the multiple keys. Suppose encryption, at sender side, it is using two keys like K1, K2, two keys. Again, at receiver side, it uses the same keys like K1 and K2 will be used at the receiver side. So encryption process can use the multiple keys. Decryption also can also use the multiple keys, but it does not specify that using the multiple. If both are same, whatever used at the sender side is same as the receiver side, then that is called as a symmetric. If it is using K1 and K2 and the receiver is using K3 and K4, then it is an asymmetric encryption. Anyway, we'll discuss all symmetric and asymmetric encryption algorithms in module 2. And this is just a terminology. We know what is a plain text, hypertext, and all. And yes. So classical encryption techniques. So why we call these classical encryption techniques means these are nowadays we are using the images, video and audio, but earlier days it was like data transmission is like a text message, English text. So instead of sending the text as it is, so data is converted to some other format. So in order to convert that, it uses two techniques like substitution and the transposition techniques. So substitution technique means whatever the message is there, plain text is there, every alphabet will be substituted with some other alphabet among the 25 alphabets. Totally 26 will be there. So one alphabet will be the one which is there, the alphabet in the plain text, that will be substituted with the remaining alphabets. So it can choose either any one of the alphabets based on the algorithm it is using. So whereas transposition means it will not choose any other alphabet. Instead, whatever the plain text message is there, simply it will change the position of the alphabets. Suppose simply sender is sending a message like hi. So it has two alphabets. If it is transposition, simply it can send it like IH. It is going to change the position. Whereas in substitution ciphers, hi means H can be replaced with some A and I can be replaced with some G. So whatever. So AG can be transmitted over the network. In transposition techniques, IH can be transmitted. Simply the position is changed, whereas in substitutions, alphabet is replaced with some other alphabet. So again, in substitution techniques, there are two types: monoalphabetic and polyalphabetic. So in monoalphabetics, so whenever there is a message, always if one alphabet is there, so if one alphabet is there, that alphabet will be substituted with the same alphabet. Every time it will be substituted with the same alphabet. Then that is called monoalphabetic. If it is replaced with different alphabets, then that is a polyalphabetic cipher. So in monoalphabetic, Caesar cipher or shift cipher and simple substitution cipher is there. So Caesar cipher means K value will be 3. Shift cipher means K value is 1 to 26. And simple substitution means plain text will be there, key will be there, a key may be some word. And then plain text will be, so it takes the key and entire key will be written. So all the alphabets will be written. So first it will take the like A, B, C, D and all. Here it takes the key. Suppose if key is HI, high, then it will replace the key. Then it will take A, B. So here D, E. So again it will continue the alphabets. Like in place of C, it will take A, B, C, D. So like that. Wherever H comes, suppose somewhere H is there, already H is there. So it will take the next one, I. But I is also there, it will take J in terms of H. Like that, it will be substituted with some other alphabet and it will take. So compared to the Caesar cipher and shift ciphers, simple substitution cipher is complex. So for cryptanalyst. So if there are 26 alphabets, then the key space will be 26 factorial. So coming to the polyalphabetic, so one alphabet will be substituted by the multiple alphabets: Playfair cipher, Hill cipher, and Vigenère cipher. So Playfair cipher uses the matrix. Okay, it will be represented in the form of the matrix, and there will be key. So first key will be placed, followed by the remaining alphabets. Then it takes the plain text. So while taking the plain text, it will check whether the alphabets are, plain text will be divided into words where the size of each word is only 2 characters. So it will take the corresponding alphabet for each and every character of that word, just based on the position, like whether 2 characters are in the same row or same column, or a different row and different column. Whereas in the Hill cipher, it uses the plain text with some n characters. Then it will take a key matrix with n by n. Then this key matrix and plain text will be multiplied. And then after multiplication, whatever the result is there, it will take the mod with 26. And then whatever the value is getting, it will take the, for the corresponding numerical value, it will take the alphabet. So that alphabet will be considered as the ciphertext. At the receiver side, it will take the inverse of the key matrix. Okay, so it will calculate the multiplicative inverse of every number in the key matrix. Then that key inverse multiplicative matrix will be multiplied with the ciphertext. Then it can obtain the plain text. Whereas in transposition techniques, it can use rail fence as well as a columnar. So this is the Caesar cipher. Key value is 3. And simple substitution. So every alphabet is replaced with another alphabet. Suppose if we explicitly specify some key, then that key will be replaced. Key itself is some keyword. Keyword is the key. Then here it will replace with the keyword. Remaining alphabets here A, B, C, D, like that it replaces in order to obtain the plain ciphertext. And monoalphabetic means substituting a single alphabet. But the disadvantage is frequency analysis will be there. This is the disadvantage of monoalphabetic cipher. So if the cryptanalyst is able to get the sum of the alphabets in the given message, easily cryptanalyst can guess the remaining plain text. So polyalphabetic, in the first one is the Playfair. You see the representation, how suppose if key is this one, so key will be represented over here and followed by the remaining all alphabets, where I and J will be shared the same key, same cell, because the size of the matrix is 5 by 5. And this is the plain text. So plain text will be divided into into multiple words where the size is only 2. And these are the rules. So there will be 3 rules. Based on that, it generates the ciphertext. And Hill cipher, so it will take the numerical position for every alphabet, and then it will take the whatever the plain text is, it takes a matrix. For key, it takes a matrix, multiplies, and then decryption will be there. So here it is going to take the inverse matrix. So you should know how can we calculate the inverse, multiplicative inverse of a particular number. And in Vigenère cipher, a keyword will be there. So it takes a key and it takes the position of each and every key, where A value is 0 and the Z value is 25. So here C value is 2, I value is 8, like that. It takes a key. In every technique, it uses the key. And remember, all these classical crypto systems are symmetric. Whatever the key is used at encryption, the same key will be used at the decryption. So these are all the symmetric algorithms. And in Vigenère cipher, it takes the plain text, numerical number of that plain text, and it is going to divide that into blocks, and the numerical value of the key. And these two will be added, and it will perform modulo with 26. And whatever it is obtaining, it will be considered as the ciphertext. And transposition, there are 2 techniques, rail fence and the columnar. In rail fence, whatever the plain text is there. So plain text is this one. It will be represented in this format. This format. We are discovered, flee at once. We are discovered, flee at once. This is the plain text. So in order to generate this, what it is doing is, what are the given plain text is there, it is writing in this format based on the depth. So it takes the depth. So here in this example, the depth is 3. Depth is equals to 3. So in first line, so it takes 3 characters, again 3 characters, again 3 characters, 3 characters, like that, 3 alphabets. So it is going to write in this manner. And while collecting the ciphertext, it reads row wise. So first it takes entire row 1, then 2, and then 3. Suppose if you observe, up to E is the first row, and up to C is the second row. Like this, it is going to take from A onwards, third row. So it will collect the ciphertext. This is the rail fence technique. In columnar, key will be there. Again, so whatever the length is there, number of alphabets in the key are 6. Then it will take the position of the key, like A comes first. So A will be represented with 1. So based on the alphabets represented in the key, position will be given. Then entire plain text will be written in the form of a matrix or the array. So number of columns will be number of columns is equals to length of the key. And if any entire plain text will be written, but here it is a fixed length array. If any last row is getting the less number of alphabets, then it can substitute some dummy letters. And while collecting the ciphertext, it will collect based on the column number. Means it does not take a 6th column first. Instead, it will take the first column, then second column, then third column, fourth column. If you observe, this is the first column, second column, third column. Like that, it is going to take the data, ciphertext. So these are the transposition, and simply it can divide the data into some blocks, and then within that block it can take the permutation. Suppose if you take this one, this is the plain text. So if the size of the block is 6, So every block will be divided with 6 letters, and within this block, data will be position of the data will be modified. Alphabet position will be changed. So that is also one technique in the transposition. So whatever is there, cryptanalyst will have the data. Cryptanalyst will have the ciphertext. So sometimes, cryptanalyst will have the ciphertext always. And also encryption algorithms are public. So everybody knows what is a Caesar cipher, what is a Schiff cipher, what is a plated cipher, like that. So by using all these things, by using the ciphertext as well as the encryption algorithm, so sometimes cryptanalyst will have some idea about the plain text. Suppose whenever IH is transmitted from sender to the receiver, he can easily get it is HI, because this HI is replaced, HI is converted to IH based on by using some transposition techniques. So sometimes, so based on the ciphertext, cryptanalyst can analyze the plain text, because by seeing the pattern or the previous message is transmitted. So cryptanalyst can break some algorithms like Caesar cipher and the Schiff cipher. So cryptanalyst will have some idea. So based on that knowledge, cryptanalyst will perform some attacks. So these are the attacks: ciphertext only attack, known plain text attack, chosen plain text, chosen ciphertext. So these are the attacks. You just go through all these attacks. So this is any doubts? If no doubts, you can leave. Thank you.